Once again, let's double check right away. Do we need to support or weaken the argument? Well, we need to support it. And this should be obvious when you read, but even still, the assertion of the historians, that's what we're focused on. We're going to pay even more attention when we get to that part. But let's just read the passage. In 1534, King Henry VIII of England split with the Catholic Church and declared himself head of the Church of England, in part because Pope Clement VII refused to annul his marriage to Catherine of Aragon. Whew, there's a lot of people. 2 years later, Henry VIII introduced a policy titled the Dissolution of the Monasteries that by 1540 had resulted in the closure of all Catholic monasteries in England and the confiscation of their estates. So far, I have not learned anything of value for answering this question, just to be very clear. Let's get to the last sentence. Some historians assert that the enactment of the policy was primarily motivated by perceived financial opportunities. This is a very dumb summary opportunity. We have very strong words in that sentence, right? Financial opportunities. We want a choice that's about money, okay? That's all I'm interested in. Let's just see if any choices are about money. Choice A. At the time of the dissolution of the monasteries, about 2% of the adult male population of England were monks. By 1690, the proportion of the adult male population who were monks was less than 1%. It's not about money. I don't care. B. A contemporary description of the dissolution of the monasteries, Michael Sherbrooke's Fall of the Religious Houses, recounts witness testimony that monks were allowed to keep the contents of their cells and that the monastery timber was purchased by local yeomen. Okay, maybe that's about money because someone's purchasing something. I don't know. Let's keep it. In 1535, the year that before enacting the dissolution of the monasteries, Henry commissioned a survey of the value of church holdings in England. The work, performed by sheriffs, bishops, and magistrates, began that January and was swiftly completed by the summer. Okay, value of something, that's how much it costs, that's money. D, the October 1536 revolt, known as the Pilgrimage of Grace, had several economic motives: high food prices due to a poor harvest the prior year, the dissolution of the monasteries, which closed reliable sources of food and shelter for many, and rents and taxes throughout northern England that were not merely high, but predatory. That sounds like it's a lot about money. But let's take another look, right? This is what happens, is we can start to think about the money thing, and then maybe there's multiple answers that satisfy that, but now we can dig a little bit deeper, right? Perceived financial opportunities. Okay, well, that sounds positive, right? Let's take a look again with the money piece, but now let's add in the connotation piece. B, we have this thing, recounts witness testimony that monks were allowed to keep the contents of their cells and the monastery timber was purchased by local yeomen. Well, that doesn't seem super positive, right? I mean, it sounds like, it says it's the fall of the religious houses, right? That sounds like they're being closed. And remember what this thing was, the closure of all the monasteries and the confiscation of their estates. So just because you let the monks keep a couple of personal effects, that doesn't seem like a good financial opportunity, right? Like that just seems like you're being a little bit merciful with these poor people. So I don't know, that doesn't seem good for choice B. Is this really positive? I don't think so. C, well, if he's surveying the value of all these things, right, the king who issued the proclamation, if he's surveying the value of these things, then maybe that's because he wants to know how much they're worth, so when he confiscates them, he knows he's taking something valuable. So value, just even by itself in a very dumb way, is a positive word, so that seems good. Let's look at D, right? So they revolted because of high food prices, a poor harvest, right? Rents and taxes, right? High, that were high and predatory. So this seems bad. This doesn't seem like this was a good thing. This seems like the people revolted against something else. So look, if we're, again, being dumb and thinking about connotations, then pretty simply, like, C seems to talk about this event in a very positive way. Now, the best way to double check if a dumb summary was good and that our choice fits is to kind of, in a dumb way, work it back, right? So what was our assertion? The policy was primarily motivated by perceived financial opportunities, right? So the king did this because he thought he'd gain something, right? He'd gain money. So if we look at C, he thought he'd gain something because he had just done a survey to see how much everything was worth. That's it, right? It doesn't really require me to twist this choice and fit it into the passage. I can just, like, basically one sentence, just, yeah, it fits. Now, what would B have to do with this, right? So It's a financial opportunity because it helps the local yeomen who we never talked about, and it's them because they can purchase the timber that the monastery was made of. But then that doesn't sound like a financial opportunity for the monastery if it was just taken apart and sold off for scraps. That doesn't seem good. And then D, again, there's nothing possible about this, right? But what's the financial opportunity? That you'd revolt and get something. But remember, these people are revolting in October 1536. They're unhappy. Like, they're not the ones passing this dissolution of the monasteries. That's the king. So these people are unhappy, I guess. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. So 1534 is when he split. And then 2 years later in 1536, that's when this is, he gave this thing. And they're saying actually that the dissolution of the monasteries was bad, right? It closed reliable sources of food and shelter, raised all these rents. So they're saying it's bad. If it's supposed to be a good thing, then we got the wrong connotation. Now, good for whom is the real question, but the passage makes it clear it's good for the king. This is another reminder, don't go by what you personally think about the dissolution of the monasteries. It's about what the passage says. Connotations and strong words and dumb summaries really helped me here. It just kept me focused on the right thing. I don't need to know the history. I just need to know the connotations.